Hello, my name is Aaron Heldreth, and we're going to be going over PBL, or Project-Based Learning, from our field guide text from this course. To begin, we're going to be discussing, coming from our field guide, or Reinventing Project-Based Learning, your field guide to real-world projects in the digital age. And the authors are Susie Boss and Jane Krause. So the three chapters that we're going to be going over as far as PBL or project-based learning are considered are chapters 3, 4, and 5. To begin, we're going to start with chapter 3, Imagine the Possibilities. So the main overarching theme for this chapter was how to choose, make, and form your projects. Some of the key concepts that were in the chapter were, what is important or what is most important from the text. Trying to find those core ideas that you're trying to bring out from the curriculum and how to institute those into a project. It also touched on preparing for the digital age and basically how to use technology in the classroom and how to prepare students for, being learners in the 21st century. It touched on a few different things like, the wikis, and also just in general planning for the rigor of, digital age skills in today's society. I also like the point that they mentioned to keep students in mind. They had made that a big portion of the chapter, which was basically, not just in the general ideas when you're forming everything, but, how is the student going to learn? What type of questions would they possibly come up with? How could you maybe have additional resources for them? How could you help guide them? So just the entire time through the process of creating this project, just keeping that student in mind in all the different facets of what that would mean. And also, one of the other key parts that I liked was on page 75. It was the essential learning functions. They went into each one of them, research, making ideas visible, collaboration, project management, reflection and iteration, and supported study and enrichment. I really liked how they broke down each one of those particular sections and touched on it because they are all important learning functions, and to make sure that you include each one of those whenever you are creating one of these lessons. The next chapter, chapter 4, was strategies for discovery. In a nutshell, this chapter was basically just about the actual, strategies, how you're making them, what to look for, and that sort of thing. So when you're, creating that lesson plan, you're creating that project, how are you actually going to do that? So this gave you a couple different things to look at. One of the sections that I liked was right out of the gate, was talking about pitfalls. Different things to watch out for as a teacher as you're, looking into creating it. One of them would be, long on activity, short on learning outcomes, putting too much time into an activity where, yes, you're having a lot of fun, but you're not getting those learning objectives. Another example was, watching thematic units. Sometimes people can put too much effort into making something revolve around a particular theme, but there's no real project happening there. They're not actually creating anything. You're not engaging the students in that way. So yes, it may be slightly interesting that it's thematic, but you're not really engaging that whole concept of project-based learning. They also touched on, some of the important features that would be involved with doing project-based learning. I liked a lot of them because it was basically getting the students to think was the general thought behind it. Making sure that your lessons are loosely designed so it gives them multiple paths to generate, that they are causing, students to be constructive and looking for meaning, that they're centered on, driving questions and structured for inquiry. So all of it is really just designed on getting the children to think, which I really liked. It gets, a few different resources as far as where to get your ideas. Like they touch on either other teachers, news stories, contemporary issues. They just give you a bunch of different ideas to look for there, which was a nice tool. And also how to actually design your project. So it kind of, breaks down each of the different pieces and gives you some different ideas to look for in that. The fifth and final section that we're going to look at is making assessments meaningful. It basically started with coming down to being authentic, creating something that's actually going to matter for the students. It's going to be on par for what you've been covering. It's realistic. It's engaging. Just something that's going to be, kind of on point. Not just a general test just for the sake of testing. I liked that point. They also touched on formative and summative assessments, planning for both, what to look for, what you need to do as a teacher to prepare yourself in order to, not just create the assessments, but what to look for during and after the assessments, and the difference between them, formative being, as you go, and summative also, doing your assessment after everything has been completed. So they definitely go into that. Planning for each one of them is broken down, as well as, all the different rubrics. Either, they touched on school-specific rubrics, project-based learning-specific rubrics, and even how to create your own rubric if you were looking to do that. Overall, my analysis was that I liked the chapters. I liked the section. I found it very easy to read. It flowed nicely. I also found it as a great beginning guide, with a lot of general information. On the bad side, was just the opposing of the good, is that it lacked detail. A lot of the information I found to be general and specific. It was good information, but there wasn't much detail there. It was just kind of a light skimming over everything. And the resources were here. This was our book, Reinventing Project-Based Learning, Your Field Guide to Real-World Projects in the Digital Age. I hope you liked the presentation. Thank you.